Hey everyone, as you can probably tell by the infrequency of uploads on this channel, I've been super busy, especially the end of this year with esports events. I think I've had maybe like 4 different regional and global events happening concurrently on the same weekend and having to oversee all of them, over the course of the last couple months. But I truly appreciate the opportunity to be busy. I know a lot of people are probably struggling and, have had a hard time, keeping consistent work this year. But having said that, I've really appreciated the opportunity to learn a lot of new skills. So what I wanted to do for this video was talk about 5 things I've learned from esports events this year, especially in comparison to FGC events, which is what I came from. So the first and probably most important thing is that you're going to work a lot in spreadsheets. Know how to use spreadsheets. This is Google Sheets or Excel. First, when you're in the pre-production phase, you're probably going to have a lot of meetings with your clients. You want to keep track of those notes and have things to refer back to, especially if there's changes or requests. You can do this all with a spreadsheet. And then when it comes to the show and prepping for the show, your run of show or your script, it's probably going to be within a spreadsheet. I think probably one of the most useful things is to learn formulas, especially formulas to calculate time and make quick time adjustments, especially on the fly, as in live events, things just happen. So know spreadsheets, know how to organize them, know how to color code them, make them easy to read, easy to follow, easy to understand. If you need help with this, especially if you're looking at running shows, I'll put a link to a sample run of show in the description. You can copy my template, go crazy with it, but know your spreadsheets. They're very important for doing this professional work. If you have just random notes everywhere, it's not gonna work. Also, be careful with the permissions you set to your spreadsheets. Like, if you're going to be sending spreadsheets to talent and clients, be careful who you give access to see and who to edit it, because you don't want someone to delete something important, then the client gets pissed off, or maybe the client has something that they want to request but they can't access it and they need to message you in the middle of the night. Know your permissions, know how to share it, and know how to keep track of that version history in case someone says that you forgot something. You're like, I saw that you deleted it here. So know how to manage your spreadsheets. Okay, so one thing that I noticed that was different with esports events and FGC events is that during FGC events, it's kind of like always like action and things are going on. Matches happen so fast. Usually you're working with a smaller crew and you got to pull matches from the pool stages and get them going. Like, usually there's barely a break to take a bathroom. Whereas in esports events, the lead up to the event, all the preparation and planning work, there's tons of meetings, tons of things that you need to get done. Videos, ad reels, sponsor shout outs, giving scripts to casters, giving them briefs. There's so much busyness before the event that when the actual event happens, it's pretty chill, because esports games are different than FGC games. They're a lot more drawn out. They maybe take 30, 40 minutes and you've got segments and stuff to fill. Or if anything, the part that's really busy is like right before the match. You got to do maybe some replays, or you have to do some caster analysis. You have to toss some videos, toss some ad reels. There can be a lot of action going on, but when you actually get in the game, it's pretty much relaxed as long as you've done your prep work. So that's a big difference. In FGC events, all action all the time. Esports events, a little bit before everything happens, pretty crazy, but during the games, you can relax a bit. So the next one might sound a bit strange to FGC broadcasters or people who haven't done esports production, but observer modes are amazing, and observers are the unsung heroes of esports production. So observer modes are basically, observer clients, and these are special clients or versions of the game where you can see more information of the game than the single player can, or the, individual can. You will see like the whole map, all these stats and items, and just information that, all the players can't see, because of course it would give them an advantage. And observers are basically people that control these clients. Now, you might have multiple observers in a game because it could have a huge map and there's multiple things going on. You need the observer to focus on certain portions of the map. This is really popular in like MOBA games. And the thing is that you need to be sure to have good observers, because if you don't have good observers, you're going to get called out on it immediately. That the first person that'll call out bad observer is your casters. Now, they might not say it directly, but they'll kind of drop hints like, hey, observers, I wish I could see this, or can you show me this stat? And instead of analyzing the game and building a show, you don't want your casters basically telling the observers how to do their job. And the next person that's going to call them out is people in the chat, they're gonna be like, what is this observer looking at? So it's really important to have good observers. And on top of that, you usually have like a game director that's, you know, deciding which observer perspective to look at or telling the observers where to go. And observer clients, man, I wish we had these in the FGC just to see more info about what's going on, to give you a better perspective of what's going on in the game. Like it could be, you know, the exact, you know, count of health you have left, or button input displays, just things to, you know, help the casters describe what's going on in the game and break it down to the audience that, you know, maybe doesn't know what's going on, or maybe doesn't know why something's important. Now, the next thing that I noticed after seeing esports events over the past year is the budgets kind of seem insane compared to fighting game events, but also like they make sense, you know? So like I've seen events that have been in stadiums now and have had like green rooms and catering for the players and all this different stuff. And to like fighting game people, you know, like just going in a hotel ballroom or maybe a convention center, maybe you get water, maybe you don't. So it might seem kind of crazy and like, why do they need all that money? But it's important, you know, it's important to have money to pay for enough staff so that your staff isn't dying streaming, you know, 10, 12 hours. You can have shifts to rotate in and out, to have food for people so people can focus on putting on a good show or putting on a good production, not like how are they going to scavenge together to get like a McDonald's order in. And to have players have the best mindset and the best situation possible to put on the best gameplay. Like these matches are really long matches. Like fighting game players know they have really long matches, especially that good old reset in grand finals. But you want these players to be able to give the best performance possible. And if they're like thirsty or haven't been able to sleep or, you know, struggling to get to the venue on time, they're not in the mindset to give the best performance possible. So it really benefits everyone else. And hey, you know what? If you want those sponsors to feel you have given them their value for their broadcast, then you need to have like that flying dragon come in, different stuff. So, and also just as a broadcaster, like having a budget opens up new possibilities. Like I've seen things that I would have never thought, you know, possible before, like having multi-language streams or AR elements or just, you know, things that, you know, I would have never thought of or dreamt of when I first started doing production. Like I was just happy if there was another person to manage like the audio mixer for me. So to have a whole crew and staff and to plan out and execute things and work things in sync is great, but it does take a budget. So the last thing is for people who are in college and who are thinking like, okay, what degree should I pursue if I want to get into esports? And the truth is, it doesn't matter. You can have, you know, any degree. I'm a sociology major. But if I did have to recommend like one specific degree, I would say marketing. And that's because esports are nothing but big old marketing activations. These are brands pouring money to get access to a demographic they want. You know, it's usually the male 18 to 35 target demographic. And they want their brand to be represented well and visible and to hit, you know, KPIs, you know, if that's either, you know, ROI from sales or impressions. And you need to learn all this terminology, and this all comes from marketing. It's taken me a lot of time to pick up some of it. I'm not a master of all of it, but you need to think about your content. It can't just be a logo on an overlay. It needs to be, you know, ad hoc content like interviews with players or replay highlights, or, you know, maybe a Logitech Dragon flying over the stage. Different elements. You need to find ways to sell that brand to people, and that's probably the most important thing for esports is ABC always be closing on those sponsors. And on that note too, like in comparison to fighting games, like I think fighting games are maybe just, you know, kind of starting to get to that point. Like they're trying to build event experiences and, you know, branding, and, you know, this is what you're buying into. Like CEOs, like a wrestling event, EVO is the biggest event in the world. So I think the next step for most people is to kind of like sell the brand into that experience and incorporate them better. So it could be title sponsorship. That's what a lot of people do. Like Doritos presents fighting game major, you know, 2021. But, you know, events might be a while. So we got to be creative in the fighting game community of how we can sell things to brands and present ourselves to brands. But that's just a taste of all the things I've learned from esports over the year. If there's anything I've talked about in this video that you may be more interested in, or, you know, want further discussion on, you know, let me know in the comments. If this video was helpful to you, give a like. And if you're on that, you know, esports dragon and, you know, you want to be the next MLG or you want to be the next Daigo, you know, make sure to subscribe. We'll have more videos. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for all of you who've stuck around. Catch you on the next one.